That must be the right time, because 6:59.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tibet Center. Where are we? Kumkyap Tarduling, located on the Bowery and Housen Street, the corner. Every Tuesday evening, and then in South Orange on Wednesday evenings. 502 North Ridgewood Road. You are welcome. So, we will continue with our discussion on Beyond Religion by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's ethics for a whole world. First, we will say the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West by Yongzin Ling Rinpoche, which you will find underneath someplace. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their new ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we had hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, The mantra of unsurpassed, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tayate Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasim Gate Bali Swaha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced, just as you have taught, and the Tathagata would to us. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering and the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Now, to generate bodhicitta, with the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind and intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel all the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So, as I said, we have been discussing His Holiness's book, Beyond Religion, Ethics for a Whole World, in which His Holiness talks about the need for ethics today, saying the fundamental problem, I believe, is that at every level we are giving too much attention to the external material aspects of life while neglecting moral ethics and inner values. However, our inner lives are something we ignore at our own peril, and many of the greatest problems we face in today's world are the result of such neglect. Ultimately, the source of our problems lies at the level of the individual. Not only does the source of our problems lie at the level of the individual, the source of our ability to deal with that problem, transcend that problem, remove that problem, lie with the individual. And so, whatever ethics we discuss and whatever ethics we recognize as being important to practice, it is we who must practice it. It's not something that we can say others should do. So long as people give priority to material values, then injustice, corruption, inequity, intolerance, and greed, all the outward manifestations of neglect of inner values, will persist. Today, any religion based answer to the problems of our neglect of inner values can never be universal and so will be inadequate. Grounding ethics in religion is no longer adequate. So, this is from the introduction to this book by His Holiness. And then His Holiness introduces the whole concept of secular ethics, explaining that secular does not mean non religious. It's secular in the sense found in the Indian Constitution, means um, some the inclusion of religion as well as non-religion, religious believers as well as non-religious believers. And so, taking up where we left off, good evening, where we left off last week in New Jersey, not the class here, but the second class in New Jersey, tolerance in an age of globalization, page 11. For you have those of you who have the book, good evening. Congratulations. Thank you for your very kind. I listened too. Thank you. Sometimes I describe myself as a modern day messenger of ancient Indian thought. Two of the most important ideas I share whenever I travel, the principles of nonviolence and interreligious harmony, are both drawn from ancient Indian heritage. Though I am, of course, a Tibetan, I also consider myself to be, in a sense, a son of India. Since childhood, my mind has been nourished by the classics of Indian thought. From the age of 6, when I began my studies as a monk, the majority of the texts I read and memorized were by Indian Buddhist masters, many of whom were from the ancient University of Nalanda in central India. And since early adulthood, my body too has been nourished by Indian fare, rice and dal. So I'm very happy to share and promote this Indian understanding of secularism, as I believe it can be of great value to all humanity. In today's interconnected and globalized world, it is now commonplace for people of dissimilar worldviews, faiths, and races to live side by side. I'm often struck by this on my travels, especially in the West. For a considerable portion of humanity today, it is possible and indeed likely that one's neighbor, one's colleague, or one's employer will have a different mother tongue, eat different food, and follow a different religion than oneself. It is a matter of great urgency, therefore, that we find ways to cooperate with one another in a spirit of mutual acceptance and respect. For while to many people it is a source of joy to live in a cosmopolitan environment where they can experience a wide spectrum of different cultures, there is no doubt that for others, living in close proximity with those who do not share their language or culture can pose difficulties. It can create confusion, fear, and resentment, leading in the worst cases to open hostility and new ideologies of exclusion based on race, nationality, or religion. Unfortunately, as we look around the world, we see that social tensions are actually quite common. Therefore, it seems likely that as economic migration continues, such difficulties may even increase. Rather timely. In such a world, I feel it is vital for us to find a genuinely sustainable and universal approach to ethics, inner values, and personal integrity. An approach that can transcend religious, cultural, and racial differences and appeal to people at a fundamental human level. This search for a sustainable, universal approach is what I call the project of secular ethics. As I go on to elaborate this approach, I should acknowledge that there are some who, though sympathetic to my explanation of secularism in Indian terms, still question the viability of detaching ethics from religion in this way. The mistrust of attempts to separate the two is so strong among some followers of theistic traditions that I have been cautioned on some occasions not to use the word secular when speaking about ethics in public. Clearly, there are people who believe with complete sincerity that separating ethics from religion is a great mistake in itself, and indeed is a source of many of the local and moral problems. Sorry? Social and moral problems of modern society. The breakdown of families, growing numbers of abortions, sexual promiscuity, alcoholism, drug addiction, and so on. For them, these problems largely result from people having lost the basis for developing inner values that religion alone can provide. For those whose religious belief is so closely tied to ethical practice, it is hard to conceive of one without the other. For those who believe that truth requires God, God alone can make ethics binding. Without God as the guarantor, they suggest, there is at best only relative truth, so that what is true for one person may not be true for another. So this is very interesting, that the whole concept of relative truth, this truth which people share without God as the guarantor, there is at best only relative truth, so that what is true for one person may not be true for another. That's the belief that some theists have. And in this situation, there is no basis for distinguishing right from wrong, for evaluating good and bad, or for restraining selfish and destructive impulses and cultivating inner values. While I fully respect this point of view, it is not one I share. I do not agree that ethics requires grounding in religious concepts or faith. Instead, I firmly believe that ethics can also emerge simply as a natural and rational response to our very humanity and our common human condition. So, does anyone have a comment with anything so far?
relative truth at best? It seems interesting to me. But I think he's adopting that perspective.
Well, he's saying that, all right, there is at best only relative truth, so that what is true for one person may not be true for others. So if you don't believe in God as the guarantor of, or the one who establishes what is right, what is wrong, what is good behavior, as opposed to what is bad behavior, then everything is relative. You yourself are determining what is right and what is wrong, and then you have, according to the theists, a mess. Okay.
Excuse me, I think if you dive deeper into that, it's also relative even within the religions, because a lot of them today, a lot of them always have seemed to taken their basic truths very relatively. I mean, people in religions where it says thou shalt not kill, kill. People, just religions, it seems very fluid also what's relative. So that's one too, obviously.
That's why I keep emphasizing that I think we should really think of these things. We shouldn't use these as the basis for judging how others may interpret them, but really use this as the basis for our own application of these things.
Do it personally instead of pointing fingers at other groups.
Yeah.
I just can't help it with Trump and the evangelicals. I'm sorry. Just bring it at heart. But I get what you're saying.
So in respect to the problems that you bring up, even in respect to those, the only thing that we are able to do is work on ourselves.
Thank you.
So religion and ethics. Though this book is not primarily about religion, in the interest of mutual understanding and respect between those with faith and those without it, I think it's worth spending a little time considering the relationship between religion and ethics. For thousands of years, religion has been at the heart of human civilization. It is little wonder then that a concern for others and the basic inner values that emerge from this concern, such as kindness, honesty, patience, and forgiveness, have long been largely formulated in religious terms. In all of the world's major faith traditions, both theistic and non-theistic, these values, as well as those of self-discipline, contentment, and generosity, are celebrated as the keys to living a meaningful and worthwhile life. There's no surprise in this, since religion's primary concern is with the human spirit. It is entirely natural that the practice of these inner values, which brings such reward in terms of our own spiritual well-being and that of those around us, should be integral to any religious practice. Does that sort of address your concerns?
Well, of course, His Holiness Dr. Yeah. It's true.
The systems of belief with which the world's religions ground and support inner values can, generally speaking, be grouped into two categories. On the one hand are the theistic religions, which include Hinduism, Sikhism, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In these traditions, ethics is ultimately grounded in some understanding of God as a creator and as the absolute ground of all that is. From a theistic point of view, the entire universe is part of a divine creation and plan, so that the very fabric of that universe is sacred. And since God is infinite love or infinite compassion, loving others is part of loving and serving God. Also, in many theistic traditions, there is the belief that after death, we will face divine judgment, and this provides a further strong incentive for behaving with restraint and due caution while here on earth. When understanding seriously submission to God can have a powerful effect in reducing self centeredness and can thereby lay the foundation for a very secure, ethical, and even altruistic outlook. On the other hand, in the non theistic religions such as Buddhism, Jainism, and a branch of the ancient Indian Samkhya school, there is no belief in a divine creator. Instead, there is the core principle of causality, while the universe is regarded as beginningless. Without a creator figure in which to ground inner values and an ethical life, the non theistic religions instead ground ethics in the idea of karma. The Sanskrit word karma simply means action. So when we talk about our karma, we are referring to all our intentional actions of body, speech, and mind. And when we talk about the fruits of our karma, we're talking about the consequences of these acts. The doctrine of karma is grounded in the observation of causality as a law of nature. Every intended action, word, or thought we have has a potentially unending stream of consequences. So I think that this is a nice place to consider the idea of karma and to go over what is said here. So when we talk about our karma, we are referring to all our intentional acts of body, speech, and mind. And so this becomes the sort of basis for moral behavior. Moral behavior is seeped in the fact that we are responsible for our acts, and acting accordingly will bring about a better future, while acting in against or without um, consideration of causality, we will end up suffering the consequences. So, intentional acts of body, speech, and mind, the really important thing is the intention with which we engage in actions. Um, an action, when we talk about things like concentration, uh, concentration is neutral. The quality of the engaging in concentration is determined by what you're concentrating on, is determined by the motivation with which you engage in the act of concentration. Um, and this can be applied to acts of generosity. You can give with an intention to harm, and you can give with an intention to help. You can give with a great intention to help all sentient beings. You can give with an intention to work towards the attainment of enlightenment, in other words, with the intention of bodhicitta. So all sorts of different motivations can accompany your actions of body, speech, and mind. Hence, the importance of intention. So every intended action, word, or thought we have has a potentially unending stream of consequences. If we really recognize this, we see the extraordinary power of any action we engage in. That in itself will develop a restraint from engaging in the non-virtuous actions that will cause this unending stream of negative consequences, and put effort into virtuous or intentions that will bring about an unending stream of virtuous consequences. And so the place of ethics becomes in ourselves. It's not that again, it's not that we ethical behavior according to the non-theists is something that we individuals assume, recognizing we can say, the evident logic of engaging in actions that will bring about our happiness and the happiness of those around us, and recognizing the unhappiness that will be brought about as a result of our non-virtuous behavior. We would naturally engage in the ethical behavior that would bring about happiness. When combined with the idea of rebirth and successive lives, this understanding becomes a powerful basis for ethics and the cultivation of inner values. For example, a key Buddhist teaching on the cultivation of compassion involves, as part of establishing deep empathetic connection with all beings, viewing all beings as having been one's mother at some stage in one's countless previous lives. All religions, therefore, to some extent, ground the cultivation of inner values and ethical awareness in some kind of metaphysical, that is, not factually or empirically demonstrable understanding of the world and of life after death. And just as the doctrine of divine judgment underlies ethical teachings in many theistic religions, so too does the doctrine of karma and future lives in non-theistic religions. In the context of religion, these understandings, theistic or non-theistic, are of immense importance, since they provide the foundations not only for the determination to live ethically, but also for salvation or liberation itself. As such, for religious practitioners, the pursuit of an ethical life and their ultimate spiritual aspiration are inseparable. I'm going to read that paragraph over. In the context of religion, both theistic and non-theistic, these understandings whether theistic or non-theistic, are of immense importance since they provide the foundations not only for the determination to live ethically, but also for salvation or liberation itself. Well, we should go back further. All religions, therefore, to some extent, ground the cultivation of inner values and ethical awareness in some kind of metaphysical, that is, not empirically demonstrable understanding of the world and of life after death. And just as the doctrine of divine judgment underlies ethical teachings in many theistic religions, so too does the doctrine of karma and future lives in non-theistic religions. In the context of religion, these understandings, whether theistic or non-theistic, are of immense importance since they provide the foundations not only for determining the determination to live ethically, but also for salvation or liberation itself. As such, religious practitioners, the pursuit of an ethical life and their ultimate spiritual aspiration are inseparable.
Talk about intent. When you went back and talked about the intent of the motivation, like, is that one reason you say the Bodhisattva vow, that kind of reinforces our intent to do these actions, even if you can't see the consequences?
When you say, can you talk about intent? Intent is everything. Intent is what determines the quality of an action. And if you, any action, I mean, let's say you're eating chocolate covered caramels. If you eat those chocolate covered caramels with the intent to satisfy your desire for chocolate covered caramels, that's sort of indulging a certain selfish. But if you eat that chocolate covered caramel with the intent to develop a certain vitality from the sugar so that you can remain more concentrated during class, that becomes a virtuous.
You have to be self-aware of all your actions as you're doing.
No, there's no you have to be. If you are,
If you are,
you benefit.
right, got it.
Although the theistic view might say you have to be.
What more?
The theistic view might be that you have to.
Or you should be.
You should.
Because if you're not, you will suffer.
By order of,
But there is free will.
right? Should I speak for the theistic?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Depends on the
Yes,
branch
there
of
should
theism
be.
you are.
I mean, there can't be. I mean, there couldn't be.
If God created you, is there free will?
There has to be the hope, or else we would just be automatically doing God's will. There's an implication that we are not necessarily doing God's will.
So
So,
dedicated merit in being aware of the motivation of your actions as they occur helps keep you on an ethical path. As a non-theist.
yes, for a non-theist, the motivation with which he or she engages in any action would the recognition of the negative repercussions of engaging in selfish behavior would help someone act ethically. Is that right?
Self-preservation.
Right, being aware that that's what you're intending.
You can also eat the chocolate because I'm in a bad mood. I'll eat the chocolate so I can recover from the no use anyone at this mood. And that's it. I do that all the time.
Me too. Me too.
You could.
Right.
But again, you're taking the whole into consideration, that there is not just this moment. Yeah. Excellent work there. Good work. Ralph.
So, I hope you're drinking for.
That's right. Alter the mood, sharpen your attention skills. Espresso.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's cool. Skillful awareness.
So I was given some. What is this called? Horlicks. It's got a little sugar in it. I'll try to think that I'm doing this to have the energy, the clarity to read, to think about what we're thinking about.
Remember Ricochet's meditation on going to the beach?
Oh, that's incredible.
Remember that? I'm going on vacation for the purpose of helping such a very good lawyerly maneuver, but it works.
Yeah.
What was that?
I go to the beach or vacation to rest my body, so I'll be ready to help sentient beings more.
I mean, that's good.
Argue that in a little court in your mind, because
That's
you're on a,
Because one time he said Buddhists do not take vacations.
they
And
don't
then I
need
went
it,
off in this,
but they don't need it.
We need it.
We're different.
well.
Shantideva talks about the importance of taking rest in order to then be able to come back to our work for others. And if you take rest with that spirit, it's a selfless act. You're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it so that you will be able to better help others.
I love that intention.
Rinpoche would talk about the importance of even doing it, just imitating.
Aspiration.
Oh, as I call it, fake it till you make it.
Exactly. That's right.
Yes.
That's the moment.
It's true.
It takes long. It's better to do that.
So we're talking about this lightly,
Yeah, but it's
but it's really important. I eat chocolate. I love chocolate. The chocolate covered caramel you gave me, I ate
more.
with delight. I didn't think of others. I ate it. I was trying. That was part of the.
Bonnie thinks-
You know, I also think when we talk about things lightly, it isn't. It's a metaphor for everything else. I don't want to dismiss chocolate that way, much less.
And I think
the
chocolate
implications
is.
of it. That's right, yeah.
It's so easy to find super good chocolate.
I thought we come down to the practical.
I mean, from little acorns, big mighty oaks grow.
And what are they called? Beans? Chocolate beans?
Yeah. cocoa beans.
Cocoa beans. So, I'm not among those who think that humans will soon be ready to dispense with religion altogether. On the contrary, in my view, faith is a force for good and can be tremendously beneficial in offering an understanding of human life with which transcends our temporary physical existence. Religion gives hope and strength to those facing adversity. The value of the world's great faith traditions is a subject I've discussed at some length in a previous book, Towards a True Kingship of Faiths. For all its benefits, however, in bringing people together, giving guidance and solace, and offering a vision of the good life which people can strive to emulate, I do not think that religion is indispensable to the spiritual life. Now, for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to say that is very, very powerful. I will reread it.
Hasn't he said that in various ways with different publications and different contexts?
Well, here he's specifically applying it to ethics. The value of the world's great faith traditions is a subject I have discussed at some length in previous books, a previous book, Towards a True Kingship of Faith. For all its benefits, however, in bringing people together, giving guidance and solace, and offering a vision of the good life which people can strive to emulate, I do not think that religion is indispensable to the spiritual life. So if we really um, mm, uh, come to the essence of what a spiritual life is, it is being a better person, is being working towards helping others, diminishing our selfishness. And for that, you don't need religion. It's something that you can come to recognize just through a logical process, I think is what that's what I feel His Holiness is saying.
I have a question. What's the difference between a religion and a belief system?
Well,
The same.
here I think that His Holiness it's a religion and a spiritual life. That's what he's saying here. But you're saying a belief system. You can have belief systems that are scientific, or you can have belief systems, belief. So you can have blind faith, belief, and then you can have belief in something as a result of having established it to be so. Is that fair?
Can you say the last thing again?
You can have belief in something. You can believe that something is so because you've established it as being so. You've seen it or you've proven it, and you can thereby believe in it.
As opposed to,
Blind faith.
but when he says, I'm not one who believes religion should be abandoned yet,
Yeah.
what is it that would be abandoned?
Organized religion as a way of sustaining faith and becoming a spiritual person.
Say again?
Well, he's saying for his own path, organized religion is still a valuable way to become a better person and lead a strong spiritual life. But that he sees in our world as it exists now, through reason and whatever, he can also create that path on his own. Harder. He wouldn't do it, but it's possible that way he's not casting out other people who don't belong to an organized religion.
In my view, faith is a force for good and can be tremendously beneficial in offering an understanding of human life which transcends our temporary physical existence. Religion gives hope and strength to those facing adversity. The value of the world's great faith traditions is a subject. All right.
So faith can be reasoned, and yet there's still an element of uncertainty.
Faith can be reasoned.
We can arrive at a conclusion through reason that then leads us to a certain faith. haven't arrived at a complete certainty, otherwise we wouldn't need to call it faith.
Well, does faith preclude one's not being able to establish something as so?
I don't understand.
Can you?
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you saying that faith and belief are the same?
Well, it seems to me that the difference between a religion and a belief might be that a religion has some element of not being sure. Well, it means
Sure.
having faith that it is so. We can
No, but
have-
His Holiness often talks about faith based on reason as opposed to faith based on
Feelings?
faith being blind. Faith based on reason is faith. I can have faith in the fact that this table is made of metal. I can have faith in the fact that this paper is white because I've established it as so. That doesn't demand any kind of. So faith does not necessarily mean that something is unprovable.
we can have the example of what is having certain consciousnesses that are beyond the ordinary person's. Right? Through seeing that the Buddha has taught things that are logical and make sense, we can have faith that these things that we don't have direct perceptions of, that he's telling us sort of, that karma works. We can have faith in those, but we can't see them directly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's reasoned faith, except we're still not seeing it directly.
Yeah. Okay. So faith can be applied to both those that we can see directly and those that we can't. They talk about 3 levels of truth: evident truths, hidden truths, and very hidden truths. The hidden truths can be established through logic, through inference. The very hidden truths cannot. But the evident truths are also truths that we can have faith in.
How?
So, if you have established something to be so, if you see it with your eye consciousness, you can have faith in that being correct because you have the confidence. You're objecting to the use of the word faith in that sense.
But I mean, from a Buddhist perspective, we can say actually our ordinary perceptions are to be slightly mistrusted.
Okay, but I mean, I come back to His Holiness referring to blind faith as opposed to faith in the evident, intelligent faith that we have that has to be based on facts.
And often in the States, and particularly among evangelical communities, faith is very strongly used as a blind faith in the theistic system or in a preacher or whatever. So it's complicated for us to use because it's got so many rules. But how we see it used regularly in other countries.
I think thinking about this can help us relate to others of different belief systems, and how other people might have different relationships.
Yes.
Snake worship.
What?
The ones who
Right.
Sure.
fool around with snakes.
Yes.
Well, that helps because oftentimes, that's kind of where I was raised, but oftentimes you can help people understand that you can have faith through reason, which is something that they're often not exposed to. And if you do it kind of kindly and thoughtfully, it sometimes opens up somebody's ability to understand something different than themselves.
Right.
So, just to go on a little bit, but where does this leave us with regard to grounding ethics and nurturing inner values? Today, in a scientific age in which religion strikes many as meaningless, what basis for such values is left to us? How can we find any way of motivating ourselves ethically without recourse to traditional beliefs? To my mind, although humans can manage without religion, they cannot manage without inner values. So, my argument for the independence of ethics from religion is quite simple. As I see it, spirituality has two dimensions. The first dimension is that of basic spiritual well being, by which I mean inner mental and emotional strength and balance. Does not depend on religion, but comes from our innate human nature as being with a natural disposition towards compassion, kindness, and caring for others. I'll reread that because I seem to.
Natural disposition.
The first dimension, that of basic spiritual well being, by which I mean inner mental and emotional strength and balance, does not depend on religion, but comes from our innate human nature as beings with a natural disposition towards compassion, kindness, and caring for others. The second dimension is what may be considered religion based spirituality, which is acquired from our upbringing and culture and is tied to particular beliefs and practices. The difference between the two is something like the difference between water and tea. Ethics and inner values without religious content are like water, something we need every day for health and survival. Ethics and inner values based in a religious context are more like tea. The tea we drink is mostly composed of water, but it also contains some other ingredients, tea leaves, spices perhaps, some sugar, or, at least in Tibet, salt. And this makes it more nutritious, sustaining, and something we want every day. But however the tea is prepared, the primary ingredient is always water. While we can live without tea, we can't live without water. Likewise, we are born free of religion, but we are not born free of the need for compassion. Maybe that's a nice place to end. Today is the 30th.
Yes.
I'll stop.
Okay, we'll finish this part. More fundamental than religion, therefore, is our basic human spirituality. We have an underlying human disposition toward love, kindness, and affection, irrespective of whether we have a religious framework or not. When we nurture this most fundamental human resource, when we set about cultivating those inner values which we all appreciate in others, then we start to live spiritually. The challenge, therefore, is to find a way of grounding ethics and supporting the cultivation of inner values that is in keeping with the scientific age, while not neglecting the deeper needs of the human spirit, which for many people, religion answers. Okay. Okay. So we will continue this tomorrow night. And
Sorry, on Wednesdays, do you repeat what was
No.
on today?
We keep going. Yes, the thousands of people online would be very disappointed.
Even on other planets.
Yes,
Even on other planets.
the Martians and the, what do they call the people from Saturn? Venus, the people in Venus, they're all saying, keep on going, don't repeat.
What are they called?
So, I hope that this is something that is beneficial. I hope that these discussions and just contemplating the really beautiful, logical way His Holiness presents the basis for ethics, whether religious, whether theistically based or non-theistically based, it's very beautiful and inspiring. And
Also teaching Buddhism. Fundamental nature. The Buddha nature, the natural nature that we have, innate and everything. Natural inclination, sort of compassion of the Buddha nature.
What Eric calls.
He's flipping it in.
With that incredible logic, it underlies everything. It's, I mean,
Once
look,
you get into
Pramana,
politics, we have a better situation.
right, Pramana, it's just an amazing system. I'm
We
always
need
wondering why we
innovation.
don't hear more about it in philosophical discussions. I guess because it's deep eastern, up in the mountains for so long, but it's really, I took a course in it, but I still don't. But it's, I appreciate the
You
logic.
took a course in what?
Pramana.
Come on, a logic. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to have good definitions to start.
I need an index for any conversation. I
No
can't get all these terms, but fascinating. And you can just see it in his teaching,
His courses. Darren, do we have names? No names. I want names.
so we shall read the Sutra, the recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyat Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him is without disharmony. It brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the kind, noble one. He is the guide for those who journey to the city of Nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not composed of dhatus. His aniyatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He crossed the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the booming realm. He sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely and perfectly pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to perfect enlightenment. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously, they are worthy of veneration with great joint palms, they are worthy of receiving prostration, they are a field of glorious merit, they are completely capable of receiving all gifts, they are an object of generosity, they are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oneness of I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit possessed with virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Son of the community. I prostrate respectfully always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore, the foolishness are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. Let us read the prayer for the swift return of Tribhuvan Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the groom wearing sacred robes. Guru Lobsang Tugwang Dorje Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayer may be so fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech of the victor of Lobsang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the foreign body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till sickly existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return to the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 seeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, wish fulfilling jewel. Return is the glory of Losang Tepe. Magnificent truths of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmaya, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the incarnation's fresh moonlight face. Thank you.